They mocked the black cleaning lady until she walked in and fired the CEO right away. Part 1. Janet Thompson arrived at Westfield Enterprises at 4:30 every morning. The sky was still dark as she unlocked the service entrance with her worn keycard. She wore a plain gray uniform with sensible shoes that didn't make noise on the marble floors. At 62 years old, her body ached from years of bending and scrubbing, but her eyes missed nothing. Most employees at Westfield never really saw Janet. They walked past her as if she were invisible. They spilled coffee and left crumbs without a second thought. They talked freely around her as if a cleaning lady couldn't possibly understand their important business conversations. What they didn't know was that Janet Thompson held 2 university degrees. Before life took unexpected turns, she had been a financial analyst with a promising career. But caring for her late husband through a long illness had drained their savings, and later, raising her granddaughter alone meant starting over from scratch. For 6 months, Janet had been carefully watching Westfield's operations. She noticed the CEO, William Bennett, arriving late and leaving early. She observed how he took credit for others' ideas during meetings she cleaned up after. She found discarded documents in his bin revealing questionable financial decisions. "Morning, Mrs. Thompson," said Peter, the security guard who always acknowledged her with respect. "How's your granddaughter doing with her studies?" "Good morning, Peter. Emily got another top mark on her business exam," Janet replied with pride. "That scholarship is serving her well." As Janet polished the executive conference table, she overheard William's assistant Mary speaking anxiously on the phone. "The board members are arriving tomorrow instead of next week. Mr. Bennett doesn't know yet and I can't reach him. He's not answering his mobile." Janet scrubbed a bit harder, hiding her interest. The board's surprise visit might be exactly what she had been waiting for. Later that morning, when the office began filling with employees, Janet quietly emptied bins near the finance department. 2 managers were having a heated discussion they thought no one important could hear. "These numbers don't add up, Thomas. The CEO is presenting false profits to shareholders while cutting our pension contributions." "Keep your voice down, Richard. Do you want to lose your job? Nobody's going to believe us over William anyway. The board thinks he walks on water." Janet carefully placed a crumpled report in her cleaning cart. It would join her growing collection of evidence. During her lunch break, Janet sat alone in the staff room. The younger employees ate in the fancy cafe upstairs. As she sipped her tea from a thermos, she checked her watch. 24 hours until the board arrived. 24 hours until everything changed. Back in the cleaning cupboard, Janet opened her locker. Behind her spare uniform hung a tailored navy blue suit. She touched the fabric gently, then closed the door. In the afternoon, William Bennett strode through the office, stopping suddenly when his expensive shoe stuck to a patch of floor. "For heaven's sake," he snapped, looking directly at Janet for, perhaps the first time. "Can't you do your job properly? This floor is still wet." "I'm sorry, sir," Janet said quietly, eyes lowered. "I'll fix it right away. People like you should be grateful to even have jobs," William muttered as he walked away, not quietly enough. Several employees looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Janet simply nodded and continued mopping, her face revealing nothing. But, inside, her resolve strengthened. William Bennett had no idea who she really was or what tomorrow would bring. As evening fell, Janet finished her shift. She collected her evidence and made one important phone call from the bus stop. "Everything is ready," she told the person on the other end. "The board arrives tomorrow at 9. Yes, I have all the documents. After 30 years, Westfield Enterprises will finally learn the truth." She ended the call and watched her bus approach through the rain. Tomorrow would change everything. Tomorrow, Janet Thompson would no longer be invisible. Part 2. The next morning, dawned gray and misty. Janet arrived even earlier than usual, her heart beating fast beneath her uniform. The cleaning cart squeaked slightly as she pushed it through the silent corridors of Westfield Enterprises. "Big day today," Peter said quietly as she passed his security desk. Janet nodded. "Indeed it is." She cleaned the executive floor first, making sure the boardroom gleamed. Every surface sparkled. The large oak table shone under the lights. She placed fresh water glasses at each seat with careful precision. At 7 o'clock, William Bennett strode into the building. He looked annoyed when he saw Janet still cleaning near his office. "Aren't you finished yet?" he snapped. "I have important calls to make." "Nearly done, sir," Janet replied, keeping her eyes down. William entered his office and slammed the door. Through the glass, Janet could see him frantically shuffling papers, making calls, his face growing redder by the minute. His assistant Mary arrived, looking worried. "Mr. Bennett," Janet heard Mary say as she opened his door. "I've been trying to reach you. The board—" "Not now, Mary," William shouted. "I need to prepare for next week's presentation. Hold all my calls." "But sir, the board members are—" "I said not now." Mary backed out of the office, looking defeated. She noticed Janet nearby. "He won't listen," Mary whispered. "The board will be here in less than 2 hours, and he has no idea." Janet gave Mary a sympathetic smile. Some people only hear what they want to hear. By 8 o'clock, the office buzzed with activity. Employees arrived, settled at desks, started computers. Janet finished her morning duties and slipped away to the small cleaning cupboard. She locked the door behind her. 30 minutes later, Janet emerged. Gone was the gray uniform. In its place, she wore the navy blue suit that had hung in her locker. Her silver hair was neatly styled. She carried a leather briefcase instead of a cleaning cart. She walked tall, her back straight, her steps sure. A young employee did a double take as Janet walked past. Others stared in confusion. Was this the same woman who had quietly cleaned their offices for 6 months? Janet took the lift to the executive floor. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, she could see 5 board members already seated. William Bennett stood at the head of the table, looking flustered. Janet straightened her jacket and opened the boardroom door. "I apologize for interrupting," she said clearly. William turned, his expression changing from annoyance to confusion. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" An older board member, James Wilson, stood up slowly. His eyes widened in recognition. "Janet? Janet Thompson? Is that really you?" William looked between them. "You know this woman?" James nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "I should think so. Janet Thompson was one of our top financial directors 30 years ago. She was also the daughter of Frederick Thompson, the founder of Westfield Enterprises." The room fell silent. William's face turned pale. "That's impossible," William stammered. "The Thompson family sold their shares years ago." "That's what you were led to believe," Janet said, opening her briefcase. "My father never sold his controlling shares. He placed them in a blind trust under my management before he died. I've been the majority shareholder of Westfield Enterprises for the past 25 years. She placed a folder on the table. "And, for the past 6 months, I've been watching how you run my father's company, Mr. Bennett. I've seen enough to know changes are needed." William lunged for the folder. "This is ridiculous. Security." "Security won't be coming," Janet said calmly. "Peter knows exactly who I am." The board members looked at each other in shock. James Wilson began to laugh softly. "Always the clever one, Janet. Always thinking 3 steps ahead." Janet placed her hands flat on the table and leaned forward. "Mr. Bennett, I believe it's time we discussed your future with Westfield Enterprises." Part 3. The boardroom fell into stunned silence. William Bennett's face had turned from red to ghostly white in seconds. His hands trembled as he reached for a chair to steady himself. "This is some kind of joke," he finally managed to say. "You're just a cleaner." Janet Thompson smiled. Not a warm smile, but one that showed she had waited a long time for this moment. "Being just a cleaner was very helpful, Mr. Bennett. People talk freely when they think no one important is listening. They leave important papers in bins when they believe no one can understand them." She opened her briefcase and carefully placed 5 more folders on the table, each labeled with a board member's name. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board, inside these folders you will find evidence of serious problems at Westfield. The pension fund has been mismanaged. Staff training budgets have been cut while executive bonuses have doubled. And most concerning, Mr. Bennett has been selling company secrets to our competitors. The oldest board member, Thomas Perry, opened his folder with shaking hands. He read for a moment, then looked up at William with horror. Is this true? You've been falsifying the quarterly reports? William loosened his tie. These are lies. She has no proof. Janet calmly took a small device from her pocket and pressed play. William's voice filled the room. The board are old fools. They'll believe whatever numbers I show them. By the time anyone notices the missing funds, I'll be retired on a beach. The recording continued, revealing conversations with competitors, plans to lay off loyal workers, schemes to hide losses. With each word, William seemed to shrink smaller. Board member Helen Foster removed her glasses. I've heard enough. William, please wait outside while we discuss this matter. You can't be serious, William shouted. You're listening to a cleaning lady over your CEO? Janet stepped forward. Mr. Bennett, I own 51% of this company. I am not asking you to leave the room. I am telling you. Peter the security guard appeared at the door. Sir, please come with me. After William was escorted out, the board members bombarded Janet with questions. Why the deception? Why work as a cleaner? Asked James Wilson. Janet sat down, folding her hands on the table. 6 months ago, my granddaughter Emily started working in the marketing department. She came home upset every day because of how badly staff were treated. When she told me about financial documents being shredded after hours, I knew something was wrong. She looked around the table at each board member. I tried contacting all of you. My calls were not returned. My letters went unanswered. So I decided to see for myself what was happening to my father's company. Helen Foster looked ashamed. Your letters probably never made it past William's office. He controlled all communication with the board. Janet nodded. That became clear. So, I took a different approach. The cleaning staff sees everything, knows everything. They work before dawn and after dark. They empty the bins, clean the desks, hear the conversations. They are invisible, but essential. Thomas Perry cleared his throat. What happens now, Mrs. Thompson? Janet opened another folder. Now we begin fixing the damage. I have a recovery plan ready. But first, I need all of you to understand how this happened and make sure it never happens again. Outside the boardroom, staff gathered, whispering as they watched William Bennett being escorted to his office to collect his things. The company's most overlooked employee had just become its most powerful figure. And in the staff room, the other cleaners heard the news with amazement. Their colleague Janet, quiet, hardworking Janet, was actually the owner of Westfield Enterprises. Part 4. The news spread through Westfield Enterprises like wildfire. By lunchtime, everyone knew that Janet Thompson, the quiet cleaning lady, was actually the majority shareholder and daughter of the company founder. The hallways buzzed with excited whispers. People who had never noticed Janet before now searched their memories for any interaction they might have had with her. In the boardroom, Janet and the directors worked through lunch. They reviewed financial reports, staff policies, and future plans. The atmosphere was tense but focused. We need to speak to the staff, Janet said finally. They deserve to know what's happening. At 2 o'clock, all employees gathered in the large conference hall. People squeezed in, standing against walls and sitting on window ledges. The room hummed with nervous energy. Janet walked onto the small stage. She no longer wore her navy suit but had changed into a simple blouse and trousers. She wanted to look approachable, not intimidating. Good afternoon, she began. Her voice was clear and strong. My name is Janet Thompson. For the past 6 months, I've worked alongside many of you as part of the cleaning team. Today, I stand before you as the majority shareholder of Westfield Enterprises. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some people looked shocked, others confused. I came here to understand what was happening to my father's company. What I found troubled me deeply. I found talented people being ignored. I found hard workers being treated poorly. I found a company that had lost its way. She paused, looking around the room. William Bennett is no longer the CEO of Westfield. His employment has been terminated, effective immediately. The room erupted in whispers. A young woman in the front row raised her hand nervously. Yes? Janet nodded to her. What happens now? Will there be job cuts? No, Janet said firmly. There will be no job cuts. In fact, we will be reviewing all salaries to ensure everyone is paid fairly for their work. Relief washed over many faces. A man at the back called out, "Who will be the new CEO?" Janet smiled. "We haven't decided yet. The board and I will be interviewing candidates over the next few weeks, but I can tell you what we're looking for. Someone who values every employee, from the cleaning staff to the executives. Someone who understands that a company is only as strong as the people who work for it." Another hand went up. "Will you stay on as a cleaner?" Laughter rippled through the room. Janet chuckled too. "No, but my experience these past months has been invaluable. I've learned who stays late to help others finish their work. I've seen who cleans up their own messes and who leaves them for others. I've noticed who says good morning to the cleaning staff and who acts as if we're invisible." Her eyes swept across the room. Some people shifted uncomfortably. "Moving forward, I will be taking a more active role on the board. My first priority is to restore what made Westfield great in my father's time, respect, innovation, and community." After the meeting, Janet returned to the cleaning cupboard one last time. She changed back into her gray uniform and collected her few belongings. As she closed her locker, Mary, William's former assistant, appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Thompson?" "The board sent me to find you. They need your signature on some documents." Janet nodded. "I'll be right there." Mary hesitated. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I never really saw you before. It must have been hard being treated as if you didn't matter." Janet smiled gently. "Many people are invisible in this world, Mary. The question is, who chooses to see them?" As Janet walked through the office, people stopped and stared. The cleaning lady who had fired the CEO was now writing the company's future. Nothing at Westfield would ever be the same again. Part 5. 6 months passed. Westfield Enterprises had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Janet Thompson didn't take the CEO position herself. Instead, she appointed Emily Parker, a 35-year-old team leader from the marketing department who had always treated everyone with respect. On a sunny spring morning, Janet walked through the main entrance of Westfield, not through the service door as she once had. She wore a casual dress, comfortable but professional. People greeted her warmly as she passed. "Good morning, Mrs. Thompson," called the receptionist. "Lovely day, isn't it?" said an accountant in the lift. The building itself looked different now. The cold marble and steel had been softened with plants and comfortable seating areas. The staff canteen had been renovated, with good food available to everyone at reasonable prices. The executive dining room had been converted into a daycare center for employees' children. Janet knocked on Emily's office door, the same office that William Bennett had once occupied. But now the glass walls were not frosted to hide what happened inside. Everything was transparent, both literally and figuratively. "Janet? Come in," Emily said with a smile. "The quarterly results are ready." They sat together reviewing the numbers. Profits were up, staff turnover was down. Westfield had just won an award for being one of the best places to work in the country. "Your father would be proud," Emily said. "The company is thriving again." Janet nodded, feeling a sense of deep satisfaction. It was never about the money. It was about creating a place where people matter. At noon, Janet made her way to the staff canteen. Today was special. The company was celebrating its 50th anniversary. The canteen had been decorated with photos from throughout Westfield's history. Janet stopped to look at a picture of her father opening the first office. Peter, the security guard who had been her only friend during her months as a cleaner, joined her. He was now head of security, with a team of 10 reporting to him. "Quite a change from a year ago," he said. "Remember when you used to eat your sandwich alone in the cleaning cupboard?" Janet smiled. "I remember everything, Peter. That's why the changes we've made will last." The room filled with employees from every department. The old divisions between management and staff had disappeared. People sat together, talked together, laughed together. Emily clinked a glass for attention. "Welcome, everyone. Today we celebrate 50 years of Westfield Enterprises." But we also celebrate 6 months of a new beginning. She raised her glass to Janet. To the woman who showed us all that true leadership isn't about corner offices or expensive suits. It's about seeing people for who they really are. The room erupted in applause. Janet felt tears in her eyes as she stood to speak. My father started this company with a simple idea. Treat people well, and success will follow. Somewhere along the way, that idea got lost. But together, we've found it again. She looked around at the faces watching her. Many had been there when she was just the cleaning lady. Some had been kind to her then. Others had looked through her as if she didn't exist. The most important lesson I learned during my time as a cleaner was this. You can tell a person's character by how they treat those they believe can't help them. The people who showed kindness when they thought I was just a cleaner are the ones who now lead our departments. Janet raised her glass. To Westfield, not just a company, but a community where everyone is seen, everyone is heard, and everyone matters. After the celebration, Janet walked through the offices one last time. She stopped by the cleaning cupboard and opened the door. Inside, a new team of cleaners prepared for the evening shift. They looked up in surprise. Mrs. Thompson, can we help you? Janet smiled. No, thank you. I just wanted to say that your work matters. You see things others don't. You keep this place running. Never forget that. As she left the building, Janet felt a deep sense of peace. The company was in good hands. People were treated with dignity. Her father's legacy lived on. And somewhere in heaven, she knew he was smiling.